What's up, everyone? Well, I gotta say the corona thing has solved the traffic issue in Dallas, that's for sure. But yeah, I was exploring YouTube last night. There's this guy, OV. He goes by OV Fuck You. The open Nazi streamer. He used to go on Luke Ford's show. He has his own secret, sketchy, evil Nazi stream, and he was actually trying to convince his younger sister of his views. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but enlightening how somebody would go about doing that. You know, you start with the low-hanging fruit and just trying to pin every societal problem on Jews. But this is what happens with every normie and every extremist group, whether it would be white nationalists, Nazis, black Hebrew Israelites. They have a contextual and topical advantage knowing the subject material they're going to tell you, even if it's all bullshit. So they'll just come at you and say, like, well, who do you think built the pyramids? Well, Egyptians. Yeah. And what color people do you think they were? They were like beigeish, I think. Nope. It says right here in this book, it's a black man. Because you don't know the subject material, you can't really refute it one way or the other, right? So it's the same thing in all these extremist communities. I actually have sort of infiltrated 3, more or less. One was talking with and I was the scapegoat in every single one of these groups, which was entertaining. The first one was a feminist group on Facebook. So of course, every time I said something, they would say, you know, oh wow, that's a hot take coming from a white man. So it's like everything you said was dismissed because you were a part of the oppressor class and, you know, evil, and you better bend over backwards if you wanted any respect or any consideration of what it was you had to say. And it better be something like some sort of groveling and bending over backwards. And then I infiltrated, I just used to watch this crazy guy's show who was like a black nationalist identitarian. And then it was the same thing. Like, oh, yeah, and yeah, so in the feminist community, everything was caught, all of society's problems and problems at any level are caused by the perfidy of white men, white Anglo-Saxon men mostly. And yeah, you could be bad if you were like if you were a TERF or something. Like, you could still be bad as a woman or anybody if you had the wrong beliefs and supported the oppressive system. And then when in the community of black nationalists, everything was Whitey's fault, of course. Every single problem that's ever been invented or ever had is Whitey's fault. And of course, yeah, I'm considered white by those people, so, you know, my fault. But both of these groups were far tamer and more moderate than white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Wignats, whatever you want to call them. Because, you know, the feminists, they just, you know, it would be good as long as I stop mansplaining and manspreading or whatever that thing on the subway and, you know my place. And the same thing with the black nationalists, you know, pay reparations, humiliate yourself, but it's a different thing entirely in the white nationalist circle. You know, I got to move to Israel or Madagascar. I don't know what it exactly is I have to do, but I better learn to bend over backwards a lot more than those other two groups. But it was just interesting being the scapegoat in those groups. Quite an experience. But that's how you learn the most about these people, is by talking to them, asking questions, whatever, befriending them in a way, getting their trust. So people say, like, never talk to a Nazi, never talk to a Klansman. It can't be productive, it can only hurt, it can't make things better. Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. The problem is the opportunity cost, right? Like, maybe you could talk Melky out of his extreme beliefs. It might take you a couple of years and some head banging, and it's like community service, basically, you know. But still interesting. Yeah, I was also listening on YouTube. I just happened to tune into it was Destiny talking with Sticks and Hammer, and they were talking about, you know, platforming people like Richard Spencer or worse. And Destiny's point was, you platform somebody, you're giving credence to their views. Not credence, you're giving them the opportunity to perpetuate those views. So, you know, you got to use discretion on who you have on. And Sticks was saying, you know, look, rational people wouldn't believe extremist views. Like, they would listen to Richard Spencer or someone proposing an ethno-state, and they would say, you know, this is ridiculous. Only somebody retarded would believe, you know, these neo-Nazis. And retarded people are never going to be in charge of anything. So it was a stark contrast in their beliefs. Destiny says people can be swayed by these people and these arguments. And Sticks is saying, well, two steps, right? Like, rational, you'd have to be a retard, and retards are never going to be in power. But retards can be radicalized and do retarded shit, as we've seen. So Destiny called him on this, and eventually Sticks basically said, like, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, you know what? I just don't care. But I thought it was interesting. I actually agree with Destiny. Like, whether you care or not, putting viewpoints out there, yeah, it's definitely going to have an effect. The question is, you know, like, how big or small and what effect. You know what I mean? And actually, I was watching one of Luke Ford's interviews with, it was the one with Patrick Little. And, yeah, I mean, I've always thought such interviews, like, I don't know, it's kind of sketchy. Platforming and promoting a guy like this, right? It's like, yeah, that interview is awesome. Like, I want to see that. I want to see Luke interview this guy. And Luke is, you know, very respectful and saying, yeah, like, you're doing some really interesting work. But, you know, it's like, is this right to treat this guy in this way? Then I was thinking, you know, like, Luke treats us like if you're on his show, first of all, we're all into it. Like, we're all into that, right? Like, that's what we wanted to see. So it's also hypocritical to think this is problematic, but then also be like, oh yeah, this is interesting, I want to see this. It's the same thing Donahue did, right? Like, he had David Cole and whoever he had, all a rotating freak show on his show, or all those other people. It doesn't necessarily mean they're promoting their views, but yeah, their views are getting out there. But at the same time, would we really want on the Luke Ford show for him to treat us like little children and be like, I'm condemning these views? Like, just for the record, I want to say that I oppose what this man Pat Little stands for. But I'm just trying to put on an entertaining show. No, that'd be kind of cheesy. Be like, you know what? Just shut the fuck up and talk to this guy. Like, we don't need to be treated like we're children and have our hands held. I don't know. That was just what I thought when I came across when I was rewatching that thing. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, and I also talked to this guy on Twitter. I met in the Enoch Holocaust denial discussion, and they were referencing a debate about denialism. So Enoch is actually going to have a debate with this guy who's an anon, but I talked to him. It seems pretty cool, and some other person. But yeah, there's not really that many Holocaust debates that I know of, or they're not put out there too much. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I suggested he try to get on Luke Ford's show because he's all about discussions like that, Holocaust or Holocaust denial. And Luke doesn't have, his show isn't packed full of people like it used to be. So I don't know. That's what I came across today. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good Friday and goes out and parties or something.